Hey guys, so murder's illegal, right? Of course, and that's very good. But unfortunately, it doesn't stop hospice with a profit incentive to get patients out the door as quickly as possible from murdering those patients. A former executive of a North Texas hospice on Thursday admitted her role in an alleged $60 million scheme that included overdosing patients to hasten their deaths, according to a court document. Melanie Murphy, operations director for Novus Health Services in Frisco, pleaded guilty to federal healthcare fraud charges. She faces up to 10 years in prison. So essentially, the hospice owner ordered the employees to murder patients who were no longer profitable, and they did this for years without getting caught until now. There were texts that the FBI search warrant revealed, texts like this: "You need to make this patient go bye-bye." So one of the executives, Melanie Murphy, she has admitted it. She has pled guilty to healthcare fraud charges. Murphy acknowledged that she falsified paperwork to admit patients who weren't even eligible for hospice services and took directions from Harris designed to maximize profits. By maximizing profits, she means hastening their deaths, aka murdering them, which they would do by over-medicating with things like morphine, which is made even worse by the fact that they, again, accepted patients who shouldn't have even been accepted into hospice in the first place. And by the fact that she falsified do not resuscitate orders just to save money on ambulance trips in case the family called 911. So she's expected to testify against 15 other people who are involved in this. Seems really incredible that so many people could agree to something so heinous. And I think it can be easy for us to just see these people as monsters, right? As 100% evil. That's almost the only way you can justify it to yourself, right? How could you possibly do that unless you were 100% evil? But it's more likely that they're not. It's more likely that in most areas of their life, they're pretty normal, like compassionate, at least partially compassionate people. They probably have family members, loved ones in their lives who love them and probably are so surprised that this has happened, right? Because they've always thought of them as good people. And they've probably rationalized, justified their actions to themselves, right? Convincing themselves that this is actually a good thing what we're doing. We are ending these patients' suffering, right? We are providing a service at a reasonable cost to people, by cutting corners, by doing these things that we're doing. So overall, it's a good thing. Just as surely as the people in animal agriculture rationalize the corners that they cut. When we are dealing with private companies with a profit incentive, a profit motive to cut corners, to save money by being abusive, by being unethical, by being cruel, it's inevitable. That doesn't mean that in every single case it's going to happen, but there are going to be cases like this one in Frisco. There are going to be cases like the numerous cases of extreme animal cruelty that we see in the factory farming industry. It's going to happen. And if we can't stop industry from murdering people, which pretty much everyone agrees is not a cool thing to do, right? If we can't stop industry from murdering people in order to save money, despite it being illegal, right? You can't do that. It's illegal. Everybody knows that. How can we possibly expect animal welfare laws to stop animals, right? My point is that most people value people much more than they value animals, right? So how can we possibly expect animal welfare laws to protect animals from this abuse? Inevitable abuse. Don't get me wrong, animal welfare laws are very important, just like laws against murdering people in hospice care in order to save money are very important. In theory, having these laws in place makes the abuse much less likely to happen. But that doesn't mean that it never happens. It doesn't mean that it isn't standard business practice to do these things and cover it up. The only way to really avoid supporting terrible animal cruelty is by opting out of the product. Don't give them that profit incentive by buying their product, right? Because given the chance, people will justify, they will rationalize to themselves that it's okay to treat these animals horribly because it makes them more money. They'll tell themselves that, the animals don't really feel pain, or what was that article I read from some farmer who was saying he could see in the goat's eyes that the goat was actually okay with it. The goat was totally cool with his inevitable death. Like, he knew it was happening, and he was like, yo, dude, don't worry about it. Like, I know what's happening. I know you just really like how I taste, and you know what? I'm flattered. So don't worry about it. People will convince themselves that this is okay, and they have an incentive to do it. They make money doing it, right? I mean, it's why I'm totally amazed when there are all these examples now of former cheese makers. What do you call someone who makes cheese? There's a word for it, but I don't know what it is. Cheesemakers now totally transforming their company to a vegan cheese company. That is so incredible to me, because these are people who are affected on such a deeper level, I think, than you or I, right? We're just consumers. Like, we're not farmers. We're not part of the industry. We're not making money off of animal abuse, right? So it's always, I'm totally inspired by these people who are able to say, yeah, I make money doing this, but it's not right. I'm going to change. Like, that's so awesome. But it's not the norm. Unfortunately, it's not the norm. And people in this industry, they will rationalize, they will justify, and they will do terrible things to animals for money. Why wouldn't they? Apparently, they'll do it to their own species too. So that's it. I'm sorry to end on such a down note, but I saw this story, and it's such a perfect example of the problem of profit incentive, not just with animal agriculture, obviously, but when you're dealing with any sort of management of sentient beings and there is a profit motive to treat them worse, treating them worse makes you more money, it's inevitable that in some cases that's going to happen. And it's why we see these cases of humane farms that are just as bad, maybe in some cases slightly better than your standard factory farming. Of course, there are going to be ethical violations, especially when you're dealing with animals, especially when you're dealing with creatures, farm animals, not dogs and cats, not pets, animals that many people are able to overlook. And to say, yeah, it's bad, like, yeah, I can't watch those videos, it makes me really uncomfortable, but damn, chicken's so tasty. That's how they say it too. Chicken's so tasty. But things are changing. I feel like I have to end it on a positive note. Things are changing. Things are slowly but surely getting better. More and more plant-based alternatives are available. I mean, I keep just reminding myself of what the grocery store looks like now versus what it looked like 10 years ago, and how different that is, and how many new products are on the market that are totally plant-based. And then, of course, in vitro meat is happening. It's really good, but we've got a ways to go. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Of course, comments and questions if you want to leave them. I didn't say it. And if you want to subscribe, that's super cool. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so at patreon.com/unnaturalvegan.